Alright, so today I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Dewalt brushless 120 volt max miter saw and collapsible miter saw stand. First of all, the first thing I did with this saw here is I removed the Dewalt blade. The Dewalt blades are pretty chintzy. There's a lot of vibration in them. They almost sound like a cymbal, so I went ahead and swapped it out for the Diablo blade. I would recommend that that be the first thing that you go ahead and do with this thing. Just a quick demonstration on the blade. It kind of just makes a thud sound. So a lot less vibration. That has a lot to do with these little cuts inside of the metal here. So it's really hard to see, but these little vibration points, they stop the vibration. So I pretty much went out, I decided, hey, I'm gonna buy the most expensive miter saw that Home Depot carries. Might as well buy the most expensive blade that they had at the time. So the stand, it's a pretty simple system. You've got 4 bolts here that get locked in. You just go ahead and tighten this up, center it, and get it in place. So, sorry for the mess in here. We're doing a lot of construction in this house. But right here you've got this knob. You're going to go ahead and kind of put your foot down, push this knob, lift up, and that should go ahead and drop your saw to the ground. This would make it as small a profile as you can get to store this saw. So you'd be able to stand it up, roll it wherever you're going to your job site, whatever the case may be. And the stand normally sells, I believe, for about $200. So yeah, you just go ahead and push the button, lift up, and then it'll come right back up. Yeah, the stand I think is $199. The saw runs $799. So it's about $1,000 for the both of them together. If you wait for the holidays, you can probably get they'll throw in the stand sometimes. So it's a good value at $200. Might as well wait unless you really have a project that you need to do right away. I would just wait until they have this thing on sale. A couple things about this stand. I think the stand for $200 is a little on the cheap side. Everything kind of wobbles. It's not really tight. So I find a lot of times there's a lot of adjustment that you have to do with the stand to kind of hold everything in place. I'm not exactly sure if I'm using this correctly, but this would be the little hold down for your wood that you're going to be cutting. If you have your wings here, your guide plate here, if you have this out at all, forget about using this. It's a real pain to do this. So this is only really usable if you're not using this fence to hold large pieces of wood. Also, I found that if you close it all the way, a lot of times the blade will actually hit that little fence there. Let's see if I can get it to do it. Yeah, I mean, the clearance is a little too tight, so you typically have to have this out just a little bit so you don't get that locked in. Again, this kind of locks into the back here. Swing this around, tighten this down on top of your wood. You've got to the left up to 50 degrees, and then to the right up to 60 degrees. It'll bevel 0 to 45. Yeah, basically you can have this thing bevel either way. You definitely want to make sure that you're wearing safety glasses with this thing. It is very, very powerful. Couple things that it comes with in the box. You're going to get your 260 volt max batteries. And right now I've got full charge on both of these. I haven't even plugged it in to I have not plugged it into the 120 volt adapter that they give you with this thing yet. Oh, well, that's not good. But I've heard a lot of complaints about it where it is not as efficient as the batteries are. So, maybe one day I might be in a pinch and might need to use these. And then you also have your 2 caps for the batteries. This is going to be for transporting them, so if you're ever going on an airplane or if you need to ship these, you're able to do that. You have a few positive stops here. Let's see, you've got positive stop at 45, positive stop at 31.6, you've got 22.5, 15 degrees, right at 90, 15 degrees, 22.5. You've got 31.6, 45, 45, and 60. So, you know, there's a couple things that get in the way here. I just don't know how great the design is. The saw is phenomenal, but as for the design itself, things get in the way and bump, which kind of is a pain, especially when you spend $800 on the saw and you're trying to maneuver it. Next thing you know, you're sliding the thing and bumping it into stuff and, you know, possibly damaging it, you know, scratches, things like that. You know, at the end of the day, it's a work saw, so I guess it doesn't matter too much about little bumps and bruises, but, you know, again, for $800, you'd think they would have that covered. So in order to unlock it, you have this pin right here. This pin, let's see, do I have it here? There we go. This little pin, you push that in, and that locks it. It's this pin right here. Okay. You can go ahead and pull that out, and that will open it up. And then you have your slide lock right here. This is going to go ahead and lock the slide. All right, so you lift that up. That allows you to go ahead and push your miter saw back and forth. I can tell you the one saw that I've seen that I absolutely think their design beats this is the Bosch. I mean, Bosch is Bosch. They make a great product. But theirs kind of works on a hinge system where you can put the saw directly against the wall. So for limited space, that might be a better choice than just the Dewalt saw. As you can see, you know, when you slide it out, it comes out quite a bit, and you really can't have it flush against any walls. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a cut here on a piece of 12x1, just so we can see the actual saw slide. So I'm going to lock this in. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this aside a little bit. I don't want to use all this wood, this good piece of scrap wood, so I'll just cut a small piece. Let's go ahead and just cut that right off there. All right, so we're going to lock this in here on this saw. Let's go ahead and it's on. Let's put it at 90. It's got that positive stop, and you can go ahead and just lock it in. Double check, make sure that you're locked. First of all, we're going to make sure that safety first. Get some goggles on. And a couple things I want to show you before we go ahead and make the cut. Oops. Is right up here, this is your light button. That button engages your light system, and you have a little bit of a shadow that'll be cast on your cut. You're going to want to cut a little bit to the right or to the left, depending on where your piece of wood is, just to account for the saw blade itself. Right here you have your safety switch, so you can't engage the saw unless the safety switch is pulled over. And again, if you stretch your finger out, your index finger out, you're going to go ahead and have your button there to turn on that light. You've got a handle here, so when this is closed you can pick it up. I'll be honest with you, this thing is a beast. It's very, very heavy. You're going to want to lift with your legs with this thing to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. And again, with the stand, you've got your slide so you can, you know, have longer pieces of wood. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Again, it's just kind of wobbly for $200. I would expect them to maybe put something a little better. As I mentioned in my jigsaw video, first thing you're going to want to do with any Dewalt saw is just dump the blades. Get some brand new blades. Get yourself some Diablo blades. With the jigsaw, I went ahead and got some Bosch blades. I think it's the best investment you can make. I'd be honest with you, I haven't even used the Dewalt blade that it came with, just because they're pretty trashy. I think it's 60 teeth versus this Diablo is 100 teeth. So here's the Dewalt blade. I'm doing this one-handed, but you can hear Sounds like a cymbal. So when you run this saw and you let go of the trigger, you're gonna have that vibration going on. You can actually see the little pieces of wood jumping around on here, or sawdust. That's simply because this is a really cheap, inexpensive blade. Here's my boneyard of Dewalt blades. Like I said, the second I buy a Dewalt saw, their blade comes right off. This is the Diablo Freud blade, 100 teeth. You hear how that thing just is silent. There's no resonance, so it's not gonna interfere with your cuts. I can tell you one of the first things that you do, what I did with this thing was kind of play around with it and just ran the saw without any wood in it just to kind of see how this thing works. And it's interesting, there's like plastic underneath here, right underneath in here where this thing was just chewing up plastic under there, so the clearances are, you know, not exactly perfect on this, and I would just be very careful. Make sure you're always wearing eye protection when you're running one of these saws, as these things are unpredictable. I've had pieces of wood shoot out, you know, feels like it's 100 miles an hour, and just if it hits you, it wouldn't be much fun at all. So in the next video, or maybe not the next video, but soon enough, I'll be doing the DeWalt portable table saw. We'll go ahead and do a review on that. Again, I still have the jigsaw here. I haven't even ran this thing yet. We did an unboxing about a week ago. I haven't even run it. So I've got some projects that I need to do, but we're gonna have some lawn tools. I've got some Ryobi stuff. You know, I'm not the biggest Ryobi fan. I'm a huge DeWalt fan, but Ryobi's kind of picked it up lately in their battery stuff, and they had the Ryobi days not too long ago at Home Depot, offering some great deals. Buy a battery, or you know, buy 2 batteries and a charger, get the tools. So I ended up buying an edger, and I'd like to do a review on that in a couple days, or maybe a week or so, next time I mow the lawn. I'm pretty impressed with that tool for being what it is. So we'll go ahead and talk about that in a couple days here, but again, we'll just get back to this miter saw with DeWalt, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a cut here, just so you can see how this thing works here. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and press this light button, and this helps you line up your cut, okay? So you can see that the blade's actually a little bit, I guess it looks about center to that line. So I'm gonna make a small cut here, and hopefully we'll have this piece of wood left over. We'll put it together so we can see how clean that cut came out. They claim on these Diablo blades that you're gonna get about the finish of what a 220 grit piece of sandpaper would give you. And the reason I'm doing this 1x12 here is you can see it's not gonna be like a chop, so I wanna go ahead and use the sliding feature so you can see the saw actually slide and cut. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. I always wait for the blade to stop completely before picking up the saw, only because these teeth can catch your wood and just throw it, you know, 100 miles an hour out of this thing. So I always wait till the blade stops completely. I don't know if you heard, but let's see if we can hear that. You hear that silence? There's no blade vibrations, so you don't hear that bing. It sounds like a cymbal almost on a drum set. So you don't hear that with the Diablo blade. I think it's worth every penny that it costs. I don't recall exactly. I'm gonna say they're in the $80 range for that blade. Totally worth it when you're spending $1,000 on a saw and stand. You know, again, you could probably get this thing for about $800 with the stand during certain times of the year. So this is the cut that we ended up making right here. You can see it's pretty clean. There's no fraying on the wood. It's smooth to the touch. It feels like it's been sanded, okay? So if we put these pieces together, you can see that this would be great for doing any type of trim work, or really any projects. I'm starting to build some farmhouse tables, as I've mentioned in some of the other videos, and I use this saw to make all my cuts along with the table saw. which again we'll go ahead and do a review on that in a couple of days here when I have some extra time. But first impressions are, well, not first impressions, I've had this thing for probably, I don't know, maybe 4 months or so. You know, I love it. I think it's a great saw. The batteries are clutch. I absolutely hate, because of this saw and because of that table saw, I've decided that I don't want batteries. I mean, I don't want to plug into the wall anymore. I'm not, you know, a guy that makes 1,000 pieces of furniture or makes 1,000,000 cuts of anything, but just for the sheer convenience of not having to plug it in, not pulling out an extension cord, not unplugging things, I can just take this thing really anywhere I want, and as long as I have a charge, I can make my cuts without plugging it in. So it is a great feature. I do love that about this saw. I don't think there's really any other. I think Milwaukee makes a 7 1/4 inch saw. I could be wrong. They might be, not Makita, Milwaukee. I might have said Milwaukee, but anyway, I believe that they make a 7 1/4 battery saw. They might make a 12 inch, but I'm not aware of it. You know, I'm just a Dewalt guy. I think they make a good product, and for the most part, I've been pretty happy with them. I've only had one drill that has taken a crap on me, but you know, I guess it happens with any electronics. As I tell people, electronics are electronics. They're never going to last forever. We, you know, definitely hope they do, but they don't. So anyway, again, I think for the $800 range for this saw, if you have the money in your budget and you're looking to buy a really nice saw, this would be a great one to do. You have a lot of really good options. You know, Rigid makes a really nice saw. It's a plug-in saw, but they do make a nice 12-inch one. You know, there's so many options out there. It's hard to say that the saw does all the work. I really think that the blade is what does the work, but the convenience of this DeWalt saw basically sold me, just having the 2 batteries. Again, I've never even used the 120 volt plug-in system that it comes with. I've heard bad things about it. I've heard that it, you know, the saw isn't as efficient, doesn't rotate as fast, or whatever the case is, and I guess DeWalt says that it does. It just makes different noises, but again, for the money, it's expensive. It's not an inexpensive thing at all. For the novice, it might not be the right tool to get, but if you have a few extra dollars, you know, like I always say, why not? Get what you want and have a little fun. If you play, you know, I play musical instruments. If you play on a terrible guitar, you're gonna be terrible for your whole life. If you invest a little bit and get yourself a nice guitar, you're gonna, you know, be encouraged to play more. Your tone's gonna be a little better, and same thing with tools. I believe, you know, your work will come out better, your cuts will be better, everything will be a little more precise, and therefore making the investment worth it. I'd rather spend $800 on a top-notch tool than $300 or $400 on a middle-of-the-road tool that, you know, I might not be as excited to use. So anyway, is it worth it? I think so. I've got a lot of trim work to do in the house. I'm trying to build a lot of furniture, maybe, you know, do some stuff on the side for some people and make a few extra dollars. But, you know, I think it's a nice piece to add to the collection. You know, again, Bosch has that really great little arm on the back of it, so you can put it against the wall. I think maybe if DeWalt can do something similar and get rid of these rails, that would be awesome. I'll be honest with you, I think that'd be great. So anyway, stick around, and there'll be more to come. I'll have more reviews. I'll have more projects that I'll be doing. You know, I'm just trying to get some of this stuff done with the extra time that I have, and I appreciate anybody watching. If you could subscribe or give the video a thumbs up, let me know that, you know, what I'm doing is worth your time. I would certainly appreciate it. And I'll try to have more of these reviews coming your way. I've got tons of stuff that that's just sitting around the house here that, you know, I know there's a bunch of content already out there, but, you know, might as well hear someone else's opinion. So anyway, again, I appreciate you coming along and seeing what I have to say about this saw. If you have extra few dollars to grab one, I think it's a great investment. Again, the first thing I do is throw out that DeWalt blade and you know, hang it on the wall or do something with it, and then go ahead and upgrade your blade to one of these Freud blades. It's definitely worth it in my opinion. So anyway, thanks a lot. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.